Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful morning here on the farm, and I was enjoying the animals. Even though it's still warm, we can all feel that fall is coming, which reminds me of a project I probably should have done a little bit sooner, and that is preserving some of these beautiful eggs so that we can eat them during the winter months to come. Chickens begin to lay a lot less or even completely stop laying during the winter. Now, you could trick them into laying all winter long, but here at King Cross Farms, we allow our chickens the natural winter break that God intended. Now, I don't know about your family, but mine is spoiled to these farm fresh eggs and turn their noses up to the store-bought options. For this project, we first have to start with fresh, clean, unwashed farm eggs. And I say farm eggs just to remind you that you cannot do this with store-bought eggs. And by fresh, I mean laid at the very most in the last 48 hours. This is not a project where you're going to collect eggs for a couple weeks and then start putting them into jars. Also, unlike other situations where if you have a dirty egg, all you do is wash it off or wipe it off with a dry towel, this circumstance, we are only going to be using the very cleanest of eggs. Okay, now let's talk about the other things you're going to need. We're also going to be using food-grade pickling lime. The lime seals the pores in the egg and will safely preserve the eggs for up to a year. I easily found my pickling lime in the canning section at my local grocery store, but you could also buy it online. Ironically, you don't have to have glass jars for water glassing your eggs. Now, I am going to be using half-gallon wide-mouthed jars today. I just like the way the glass ones look, but you could use any kind of plastic jar. I've heard of some people using 5-gallon tubs for this. The only reason I'm not going to be doing that today is because if you crack or drop one egg into the bucket, then all of that batch is ruined. The only other thing we need is chlorine and fluoride-free water. So if you have well water, you are good. But if you have city water, you're probably going to need to buy distilled water from the grocery store. Okay, now we're going to be pulling out our kitchen scale so that we can measure out our pickling lime. You're going to need 1 ounce of pickling lime per each quart of water. In each one of my half-gallon jars, I was able to put 1.5 quarts. So that is 1.5 ounces of pickling lime to 1.5 quarts of water because I had to leave room for all of the eggs. And then you want the water to be at least 2 inches above your eggs. I also realized it's a lot easier to shake your jars. That's another really great part about having all of your eggs in kind of smaller jars, is that you can just screw that lid on and then shake until the lime is completely dissolved. Now, when the lime settles, no matter how much stirring or shaking you do, it's going to settle to the bottom, and that is okay. Also, I would like to take this moment to point out that the summer and springtime during huge production of eggs is another great time to go ahead and water glass some of those eggs because they will last up to a year. We still only eat a dozen eggs a week, and they're laying between 10 and 18 eggs a day. So this is still a good time for us to store up these eggs for winter before they quit laying. Another great part about this task is that you don't have to boil your jars and boil your lids or do any kind of sealing to the jars. Is not part of this process like it is for canning most things and preserving them for long-term storage. So you're just going to use clean jars that you've washed, and then you just seal them shut like normal. Okay, now that we're done, we're just going to be storing these in a cool, dry, and ideally dark place. Then the last thing is, again, when you are getting these eggs out, if you have very sensitive skin, the lime will dry your hands out, so just put a glove on, and then when you get those eggs out, rinse them off right before you use them because you don't want to taste any of that pickling lime in your food. over the summer, we definitely experienced times where we did not have eggs, which is very unusual for people who own their own chickens. But it was so hot that our chickens did not lay. So it is always great to water glass and store some of these eggs for times, any time of the year when you may or may not have those fresh eggs that you're so used to having. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe and like and hit that bell icon so that next time we put out a video, you can join us right here on the farm. Bye guys.